I'm sorry, I had to stop. We kept seeing each other for a while, maybe a month or two after I had left him. He lived at his uncle's. His mom's boyfriend, his stepdad, whatever, had gotten out of jail and was homeless. He didn't come back home. So they moved everything back into their trailer. Well, not everything, but a lot of stuff back into their trailer because the uncle had pretty much kicked him out, probably because of Jason. But moved back. Jason moved into Dave's room. And they got a puppy at some point. I don't know. It was probably when I was still with Jason, but they got a puppy. And I was trying to teach them how to, like, potty train it. And, I told them, they have to go outside and you have to walk them. And that was a big argument between me, him, and his mother, to the point where his mother was threatening to, like, either kill the dog or go and drop it off somewhere because it was my fault. Anyway, so they had their dog, and they got a cat. Jason had found a cat and adopted it, I guess. They got a cat. They were horrible pet owners, let me just tell you, horrible pet owners. Anyway, he had moved into Dave's room, and I didn't ever stay with him anymore. I didn't stay the night or stay over anymore. By that point, I'd quit my job at Burger King because she was my manager. So I had quit. I was out of a job. He kept putting down. I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go work at this factory, and he was like, oh, you can't do that. That's too hard for you. You can't do that. Like, your knees are bad. Your back is bad. You can't do that. You literally could not do that. And whenever I got a job at the factory, he wasn't proud of me. He was just like, oh, you're not gonna last very long. But anyway, I'm sorry, my mind is shot right now. I had started talking to somebody else, and I didn't consider us in a relationship, but I'd started talking to somebody else, and I'd quit going over to Jason's house altogether. And there's somebody else, of course, they were a rebound. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that, to be honest. It was a rebound. He made me feel better. That's what I craved. I just wanted to feel cared about. Of course, this guy turned out to be a dud too, but anyway. So I had quit talking to Jason, except for just a little bit. I wouldn't go over there anymore. And he would always say, like, I miss you. And I miss what we had. And, it's like, I wish I could hate you after everything you did to me. And he would always go on and on and on about, woe me. I'm having to deal with the worst of this breakup. Pity me. And it's just like, you put me through hell for 4 years. And you want to say that I was bad to you. I would tell him, I was straight up with him. I'm like, you abused me. You're toxic. You abused me. And he would say, well, you abused me too. You were toxic too. You abused me just as much as I abused you. And I believed him. I believed everything he said. He was very good at making people believe things that weren't the truth. Very good at it. And I had such a hard time with that, I thought, this was all my fault. Literally everything that happened to me was my fault. I caused it because I was abusive too, because I was toxic too, because I was just as mean as him. I believed every word. Sure, I wasn't perfect. But when you're in an abusive relationship, it's not healthy on either end. Both parties in an abusive relationship will say things just to hurt the other. That's what a toxic relationship is. But nobody deserves to be abused. Nobody deserves to be held down. Nobody deserves to be tossed around like they aren't shit. Nobody deserves to be disrespected, their boundaries disrespected like that. But I believed every word he said. Still, I still question it. Maybe I am a bad person. I don't know. But, one day I had had enough. I had felt my tie thanks to my rebound. I'm sorry that you were a rebound. But you helped me get over that. Help me heal. Help me start healing. So thank you to that person. I told Jason, I said, this isn't about you. Sure, I was probably terrible too. But you made my life hell for 4 years. You hurt me more than anyone deserves to be hurt. And I told him that I was sick and tired of being blamed for his problems and his actions and his reactions, and I was tired of it. Tired of the gaslighting and the horrible things being said to me. And being thrown around and held down and being grabbed, and I told him I was done. That I was 100% done. And I blocked him on my phone, I blocked him on Facebook, I blocked him on Instagram, I blocked him on everything that I had him on, so that he couldn't reach out and speak to me anymore. And I started dating my rebound guy. I am still very sorry that you were a rebound. That actually makes me feel like trash, but I mean, it's the truth. I didn't know it at the time, but I realize it now. Anyway, Jason messaged him and told him that he hoped that he enjoyed Jason's leftovers, basically. That I was just a secondhand whore. And everything, just. And of course, the guy that I was with, my rebound guy, he didn't really say anything to him. But I did. I messaged him and told him, to leave us alone. Get out of my fucking life. Fuck off. And, he apologized and was like, I was drunk, and you know how I am when I'm drunk. And I was just like, don't, it doesn't matter. Just leave us the fuck alone. So he did. He messaged me a few times before all that, making me feel guilty for leaving. He said, the cat is growing up. He's getting so big now, and you always wanted to see him when he was, grown up and wasn't a kitten and shit like that, Oh, Cass misses you, which is his dog. And, Samara misses you. Samara was just totally heartbroken, which is his little sister. And I already felt guilty for leaving Samara behind, but she's not my kid. I couldn't take her. I do wish I could help her, save her. She doesn't deserve to live there in that. She really doesn't. All that. And I haven't heard from him since. I'm sure somebody is going to find this. Somebody in his family. Maybe even him. Maybe one of his buddies. Is going to find this. Show it to him. There might be a lot of backlash. I mean, I hope not, but we'll see, Just listen. If somebody, pay attention to the people that you are around. Pay attention. If they are mean to their parents, one, like actually really fucking mean, like cuss them out, harass them mean to their parents, they're no good. If they're mean, cuss them out, harass them to their friends, up in their face, trying to fight them, thinking that they're better than them, saying things like, oh, I blah blah blah, I make more money than you, or whatever the fuck. They're not good. if they say mean things to you, that's not going to get better. If they start hurting you, that's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. They don't see anything wrong with it. I don't know why. I don't know what it is in their brains. There's nothing wrong with it. Because it gets them what they want. That's all they want, is what they want. And they'll do anything that they can to get what they want. Very narcissistic and manipulative. If you know somebody that's narcissistic, cut them off. You don't need that. Before they fuck you over and leave you in the dirt. You don't need that. If you know, even if it's a family member, I don't care. Cut them off. You are so much better. They're not going to change. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you think they're trying. They're not going to change. These people are not going to change for anybody. And it sure as hell isn't going to be overnight. If they say, you know, like one night you're fighting with them and then the next morning they're like, oh yeah, you're right. You know, I'm going to try my best to do so much better. I promise. I swear. No. Run. Because they're not. Don't believe anything that they say. Nobody can change being a narcissistic, abusive person overnight, or even a week, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 months. Nobody can change that. It's not going to get better. I promise. Trust me. I tried so hard with Jason. So hard. I did everything. I did everything he wanted. Everything. I did everything for him. Drove him around. Bought his drugs. Gave him my money. I bought him all sorts of shit. Like, anything he wanted. Anything that he could ever want. Anything that would make him happy, make him feel better. I did for him. And for his family. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I didn't need to. I shouldn't have. But I did. I got rid of their bed bugs. You know, I went around at thrift stores taking pictures of like furniture because they had to get rid of their couch because it was infested with bed bugs. I looked for cheap mattresses for Jason to sleep on instead of an air mattress that pops like every week. He finally got a futon when he got a job, along with some other unnecessary things. And then couldn't help me out with gas or anything, of course, whatever. But I still had to drive him around because he wasn't going to get a car. No, God forbid, because he said nobody would let him drive. I wasn't going to let him drive mine because mine was under liability. That was his mom's job, and his mom wasn't being a mom. She was perfectly content with me being the mom and taking care of him and cleaning his fucking room, cleaning up his puke whenever he got drunk and stayed up all night and didn't let me sleep. That was on me. Driving him around? Me. She took him to work. I would have to go pick him up or take him to work. It was on me. Weed money. That was on me. Cleaning house. Well, at least his room. On me. I remember one time, my dad had bought me these collectible little animals, right? So they were very, I guess, precious to me, right? And Samara got into them because her friend was into them. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I have a whole bunch. You know, I'll bring them over and we can play with them. And, you know. And she had them for a month and a half. And I would find them, I would walk in, I would find them everywhere. And I didn't want them to get lost because their house was a fucking mess. And there was holes in the floor. And I just didn't want them to get lost because they were important to me because my dad had got them for me. So, I told Jason one day, I was like, hey, can you tell Samara to, like, put up the animals, like, keep them in one spot so they don't get lost? He got so mad at me. He said, like, I can't believe you care so much about toys, and I can't believe you're getting mad at my little sister for playing with your toys that you gave her. I'm like, I did not give them to her. Those are mine. I let her borrow them, and I don't want them to get lost. And of course, his mom was sitting in the living room and heard the whole argument that didn't need to be an argument. And so she had went around and gathered them up in a plastic baggie and pretty much just threw them at me. It was like, here. I was like, thanks, I guess, And so I just took them and, put them up. But, it didn't have to be. And they were both so mad at me for that. And it's just like, why? Respect my stuff. Jason never respected anything that I had over at his house. If it got broke, oh well. Even if it was important or not, or expensive or not, oh well. I know I was moving from my childhood home that I had lived in for 18 years to a teeny tiny little income-based apartment. And I had like 4 cats and 2 dogs. And I could only have 1 animal. And I didn't want to have to give up my animals. And I had to give up all my stuff because we went out had room for it in the apartment. So I gave up a lot of my stuff just to be able to live somewhere. And a lot of my animals just to be able to live somewhere. And the stuff that I did have was important to me because it's all I did have. That's all I had after that. And I had my guitar that my mom had bought me. I had my guitar in my trunk from moving. I just hadn't got it out yet. And he was going through my trunk. He wanted to look at everything I had. He was so very nosy. And it just, I don't know, it bothered me. But anyway, he was looking in my trunk and he found the guitar. And I told him, please be careful with it. Don't drop it. Be careful with it. He was like swinging it around and shit. And he dropped it. And a big chunk of it chipped off where he dropped it. And I was, upset. Understandably upset. Because I told him, be careful with it. And he got mad at me for getting upset with me, for him dropping it. He's like, it's just an accident. And I was like, I told you. Don't, be careful. And if any of my stuff got broken in his room, he would just step on it. Where there was just so much trash, he would never clean his room. And I was the one that always had to clean his room. There'd just be a mountain of trash. And if my stuff was underneath it, or if his stuff was underneath it, it didn't matter. He would just traipse over it. He would get upset if it was his stuff. But if it was my stuff, I needed to get over it. So I always tried to keep my stuff put up. And whenever I cleaned his room, I always tried to keep my stuff in one corner. There's so much, and some of it's just trivial stuff. Some of it's just, about stuff or anything. But that's still important. If they're not willing to respect you and your stuff and your space, they're not gonna respect you ever. Honestly. They're not gonna change. Especially if you tell them that it bothers you and they're just like, get over it. They're not changing anytime soon. And no matter how much these people tell you that they love you, don't believe them, because they don't. I honestly don't think these people know what love is. If it's just, arguing about stuff, maybe you're just not compatible. But when it gets physical or sexual, or they say things that really hurt you, they try to manipulate you or guilting you into doing things that you don't want to do and disrespecting your boundaries, that's when it gets scary. And that's when you need to leave. Because it doesn't get any better. And just, I don't know, I promise it doesn't get better. No matter how much you want it to. No matter how bad you wish you could make it work. And this goes with friendships. This goes with parents. Relationships. It's not worth it. Don't put yourself through it. There were nights where he was asleep, drunk, and I just wanted to, I know this sounds crazy and horrible, but I wanted to kill him so that I could get away. There were nights where he would be passed out drunk and I wanted to kill myself because I wanted to get out. I guess I could have left in those moments, but if he woke up, it would have been really bad. Yes, he's been through a lot. Like when he was a boy and his father used to beat him. He would get drunk and beat him. And between Dave and him, and he had to watch his mother and older sister get beat. Yeah, it takes a toll on somebody. But he's doing it too. He may not be beating people, but he's raping people. He's throwing people around, holding them down, holding them hostage, basically. Not letting them leave. Threatening to hit you. One Halloween, Joker and Harley, of course, but he was obsessed with the Joker. He wanted to go one Halloween as the Joker. So I bleached his hair, dyed it green, because he wanted it green, did his makeup. He bought a purple shirt, or his mom bought it for him, I don't know. And he went as the Joker, and I went as Harley Quinn. That night, he held a pocket knife to my throat and asked me if I trusted him. He wasn't being very easy with it either. He was pressing pretty hard and asked me if I trusted him. I didn't know what to say, so I just said yes. Of course, he put it up. He also wanted me to hold a knife to his throat for a photo shoot. I guess to play with the whole, crazy vibes, whatever. So I did. Of course, I was a lot easier with him than he was with me. But, that's just another one of those red flags that I ignored. Maybe purposefully. I don't know. A lot of it, when you're getting hit with shit like that, when you're getting hit with things that when you think about and process it later, makes you just break down and cry and regret everything. In the moment, it's like your brain is protecting itself and it doesn't react. Or maybe I'm just stupid, I don't know. But it's protecting yourself and you don't react to it the way you probably should. You don't react to it the way that you react to it later when you're in a calm environment and you're thinking about it. For me, it's like my brain just tuned it out in the moment. Maybe I just couldn't process it fast enough. Maybe my brain just wouldn't let me process it fast enough. It's like a way of protecting me. But it just, I couldn't process it. My therapist was scared for me, if that says anything. She actually wanted to call the cops on him, but I wouldn't let her. I remember one therapy session, I was talking to her about all the sexual abuse that I was going through with him. And she stayed over 30 minutes past, I was the last appointment she was seeing. And after that, she was gonna go home, like she was done for the day. But she saw me 30 minutes after because she knew I needed to talk about it and she was afraid for me and wanted me to talk about it. I ended up not going back to therapy after that because he didn't want me to. I told him what she had said, which you probably should never do that, but I told him, you know, what she suggested I do, and she wanted me to leave. I told him that, and her assessments, I guess, like how he was being abusive and manipulative, and he didn't like that. He didn't like to be called abusive. Just because he didn't hit me. He wasn't abusive, or that's what he thought. He never really admitted or owned up to anything that he did to me. He always told me that it didn't happen, or I remembered it wrong, or he didn't remember it, so therefore it didn't happen. I always believed him, like, oh, well, you know, maybe it didn't happen. Maybe I'm actually going crazy. I felt crazy. To feel like nothing that's happening is real. Because nobody believes you. Or because the person who was there says it didn't happen. I felt so crazy. I felt like I was just alone. Alone and crazy. I didn't know it was real. And I know that sounds crazy in itself, but I didn't know who to trust. Me and my mother have a codependent relationship, which that is true. But I didn't know about it until Jason. He looked it up. pretty much turned me against her because I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with that information. My friends didn't like him. He didn't like my friends. He always said that they used me, which maybe, but he said that they used me and that I shouldn't talk to them anymore. And I believed him, so I stopped talking to them. And if I tried to, he wouldn't let me talk to them. He would send them messages on my phone or on his phone, making them mad. He did it to my sister's friend as well. She's also my friend, but just ruined a lot of like relationships with people that I had. Nobody wanted to be around me because they knew that he would be there. I never had any time away from him. Even going to the dollar store, he wouldn't let me go to the dollar store by myself because he was afraid I was gonna leave and not come back. Which I should have, but you know. So he went with me everywhere. Everywhere. I didn't have any alone time until he started going to work. He was mean to people at work too. And the reason he got fired, this was after I broke up with him. Like the last time. He was selling drugs over the front counter. Like weed, tech, Molly, ice, just meth, over the front counter, and got caught and got fired. I don't know if they called the police on him. They should have. Definitely should have. But I don't know. I don't know what he's doing now. I don't care. But he's mean to everybody. But nobody that knows him, like is friends with him, believes me. Because he always made me out to be the bad guy. No matter what.